Hi everyone out in the void, I'm Zach, this is the Shaken Fist, and today we're started on the next 10 questions. Get your boots on and your gloves, or your shorts, or whatever, swimsuit, car, whatever makes you happy, and get in there, do that thing, because,
Buckle up, buckaroo!
It's more questions for Braxton Hunter. Do you want to know a secret? I'm filming all of these at once. I'm doing all 25 at once. All 25 at once. I'm insane.
Last year, I made a video, 10 Questions for Atheists. That's in a playlist that has 12 episodes, as I listened to what atheists said and then interacted with that. There were a lot of responses, and I still get responses to this day from that video. Now, admittedly, there were some things in that video that might have been tongue-in-cheek, but I genuinely wanted to hear the answers to those questions. Quite a few atheists seemed to appreciate that I was trying to understand their positions in a greater way, but many still didn't think my questions were genuine. A lot of people also thought that I was too wordy for the question to come out in a precise way. So here I'm asking these questions as simply and concisely as I possibly can and without any snark whatsoever. I genuinely want to know the answers to these questions.
Oh, well, if he's going to try and be honest and nice about it, and be concise and short, well, then I shall do the same. And hopefully it won't be 2 videos to answer all 10 questions. Onward, charge! Conciseness, ho!
Question 1. If you have a deconversion story from any world religion, would you mind sharing that story? If you grew up in a non-religious household, what was it like to experience being around other people who were raised religious?
I mean, he genuinely wants to know, so he can try and make a tally of which stuff deconverts people the most. So then he can make videos about it, so he can try and nip it in the bud and try and stop people from deconverting before they become any of us people that know a lot of stuff because we read books. But hey, I think, mainly, my deconversion story is God didn't speak to me when he spoke to literally everyone else. There you go. There's a lot of ancillary stuff and seeing fundamentalism from a Catholic point of view and realizing they were both dumb. But really, God talking to everyone but me, being really lonely. I mentioned in the last video. And considering I just went through that trauma again 5 seconds ago, I don't need to do it again for this video. It's very heartbreaking when you think that really you're very alone in the universe. Got no friends because you're a bit weird. Like, you've all seen me. Your family doesn't like you. And then God doesn't even talk to you. Ugh. It's rough. Rough!
Question number 2. Is there anything that Christian apologists or philosophers bring that you actually do consider to be good evidence for God? And if not, how do you define evidence?
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Well, no, I don't think any of you bring any actual evidence to the table because you bring arguments. You bring personal experience. It's not evidence. It might be evidence to you, but evidence doesn't mean good evidence, now, does it? So when we conduct an experiment, we have a hypothesis. We conduct the experiment to try and disprove that hypothesis, right? So, to prove God best is to actually try and disprove him. Because if you can't disprove him, the lack of disproof would actually be the best proof now, wouldn't it? And considering your God in particular, we can disprove by disproving Judaism at its core from its polytheistic actual origins, from its, possible connection to the Hyksos being like the Exodus out of Egypt and all, like nicking Mesopotamian myths and the fact that you've piggybacked off that and even changed what they've said proves that is good enough proof for me that your God personally isn't real. Or if it is real, then humanity has messed up its image so much that it isn't worth believing in because it isn't the God that is. Do you understand? If we can show different errors in your Bible that like how the virgin birth came about, or how y'all used, was it that line about, and a virgin woman will give birth to a man called Emmanuel, and go, it's about Jesus, except when you read to the end of the chapter and they talk about it's the coming of Assyria, the coming of the kingdom of Assyria, the king of Assyria, actually, specifically. So the thing is proof is different on a case-to-case basis, because is it cumulative evidence? You know, is it specific evidence? And the thing is even your cumulative evidence is very speculative at best. You use arguments that don't point to your God specifically. This is the first time he admits this next bit, and I love this because you never hear them say it out loud, right? Because we're not supposed to read this book, are we? I know he's talking, the unbelievers have an open mind, but really, he's saying that so he can appear gregarious to everyone, because really, he's preaching to the, he's preaching to his sheep, to his flock, you know what I mean? Because he is the shepherd that is leading them into the light, blah, blah, blah. So, they say different things that they wouldn't say in public. Like, however, so what he basically said is there's a two-step thing, right? You got the core, and then you got the facts. Core is a bunch of arguments, and the facts are about Jesus, right? And it's all acronyms. And he's saying that the first four, the core, are all related to the existence of God. However, this material doesn't specify that the God being argued for is the one true God of Christian Scripture. That's an amazing revelation, especially when he's going to give you the cosmological argument, the teleological argument. You know what I mean? And he's just there going, yeah, none of these actually argue for our God. None of them.
Well, so that's the thing. He only thinks that there's one God. And many times Christians don't realize that providing evidence that there's a creator does not get them to anything named God. Anything named Jesus.
No, because you could be like one Michael Beverly that gives some credence to... We were all created by a great programmer in the sky. So, if you want to ask me why I don't want to believe in theism, well, it's because it's a deistic God, and if a deistic God doesn't care, then really, what's the point in believing in it to begin with? But, when it comes to your God, well, that's very different, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, there is no proof for your God. You guys, some of you will point to the Shroud of Turin, and we could disprove that so easily. It's silly. Like, oh look, this fabric doesn't even look remotely like 1,000 years old, and it's like it's 2,000 years old. But do you see, it's frayed in a certain way, so it's definitely like, come on, for an all-knowing, all-benevolent, all-knowing being, he should do better than this. Then, hey, have you seen a watch? Like, as a Christian, could you not ever see how, like, something like the watchmaker argument or everything has to have a maker just isn't convincing? How, well, it's the ontological. If you can just think of it, it's powerful, it must be, because it's all possible worlds, and if it exists in one, it exists in all. Can you not see how that's silly?
When will I walk away? For me, when I'm so diseased or my brain so deteriorated that I'm no longer myself in my rational mind. Listen to me, we're not going anywhere. And if you came to Christ partly because God used Trinity Radio or my ministry apart from Trinity Radio, hear me loud and clear. I've said plenty about the ways in which I'm open and my views are falsifiable, but I want everyone who calls himself or herself a committed Christian to consider this deeply. I'm not ashamed to tell you that I will always be a Christian. What meaning does it have to say I have bent the knee to the king if I may go AWOL in the midst of the chaos? I have bent the knee, and I will not defect. In our tribe at Trinity, loyalty means quite a bit. And we aren't just loyal to each other. We're loyal to each other because we found a reliable master. We're in the kingdom, and we're proud citizens of it. I belong to Jesus Christ. He is my Lord, and I will never surrender.
If somewhere within the Bible, I were to find a passage that said 2 + 2 = 5, I wouldn't question what I'm reading in the Bible. I would believe it, accept it as true, and then do my best to work it out and to understand it.
I gotta sing the Doom song now! Doom, 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 doom,
I don't get how any of this stuff is ever supposed to be even in the slightest bit conceivable. I mean, you've even the thing, to be honest, the other thing that annoys me is you kind of basically asked this in the last one. You just rephrased it because you thought maybe you'd get a better answer. I don't know. Come on, try harder.
Straightforwardly, I'm a dog person. Here's my dog, Indiana. Dogs, cats, both, or neither?
Dogs, of course. Cats are a blight upon this earth. Literally, because people are bad cat owners. If you let your cat out, you are evil. That's just the way it is. Because your cat kills anything it can do, and the small mammal population and bird population has been devastated by irresponsible cat owners. Cats are fine, lovely animals, but they need to be kept indoors.
Did Jesus exist as a single historical individual? And if so, how reasonable do you think it is for people to hold the position that Jesus did not exist?
I'm about 65% sure that Jesus was an actual living person. But like Life of Brian level, where it's just he was just a crazy street preacher that some people took seriously and it got out of hand.
Only the true Messiah denies his divinity. What? Well, what sort of chance does that give me? All right, I am the Messiah. Now, fuck off!
How reasonable do I think it is that people think that there's no way he existed? Well, you know, if you don't look into it, pretty reasonable. If you look into it, I'd say it's less reasonable, but also I only have a 65% on him actually existing as an entity. So, I don't know. You know what I mean? You do realize it's not that big of an admission, just saying, well, Jesus was possibly a historical figure, because, like, it doesn't mean that he had to have magical powers. It just meant that he had to shout enough from a street corner and enough people believed him. Say, like, 12 guys believed him. You know. Maybe he washed their feet a little bit. You know, in Bible terms, washing the feet can mean sucking dick.
Of your Christian friends and family members, which one would stand the best chance of convincing you or persuading you than the others? Even if you think none of them stand a chance, some stand more of a chance than others, right? Who would that be and why?
That's a very evil loaded question because, well, none of them have any chance of convincing me. So, if the second part of that question is if none of them really could and they're all a 0% chance, it has to be one of them. Well, what would be that? Well, then it would be the most manipulative member in my family, wouldn't it? Like, if I think your proposition has a nil sum, then actually I think the most manipulative and evil person in my family that wants to control them the most would have the most likely chance of doing that, because they're skilled in making people believe in the things they want to and erasing the past of that. So that would be my mother, because she's an evil sociopath.
What's your favorite film or television series?
Man, what's this stupid fluff bullshit you're trying to make friends? Oh, I'm just gonna have a nice ass love for the fluffy questions. Man, fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck this, like, fuck you.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
No, actually, you know what it is? You're just trying to figure out which bits of my fucking stuff have religious inspired things in them. I don't give a flying fuck, motherfucker. My favorite thing ever is Discworld, okay? With film series, it's film book series. No, I didn't say book series. TV show. 2012 Ninja Turtles is my favorite TV show. Freakout is definitely one of my favorite movies, just because I've watched that film. And same with How High. I've watched both of them hundreds and hundreds of times, and they're always just as funny as the first time I watched them. Final answer. No, it's too hard a question.
Contingency arguments for God's existence can be framed in a number of ways, obviously, but pick one, and what's your favorite response to this sort of contingency argument? Or if you're really ambitious, what's your favorite response to contingency arguments in general?
I think my response to this is that we're thinking about this in a human-centered way, and since we're thinking about it in a human-centered way, we think that there should be some kind of, overarching human-like entity over the top of it. We've made human-like entities since literally the dawn of making these things. Making gods, you know what I mean? Like, they were always exaggerated, powerful versions of ourselves, always down to the Mesopotamians and before. So, actually, it's more like we're telling stories, and we're trying to tell stories more mainly as like morals. So in Terry Pratchett, I forgot the other two people. I'll put the thing up on the thing. Series Science Discworld series. They talk about we shouldn't be called Homo sapiens and wise man. We should be called Pan-Neravidius or something like that. The storytelling ape, because we tell stories. We've always told stories. That thing is doing that thing for a reason. So everything, because of that as well, everything has a beginning and middle and end. So if everything has a beginning and middle and end, that includes the universe. But that isn't thinking about the universe actually not being the entity that we think it is. That maybe the universe is very different because we are nothing but mostly hairless apes on a planet trying to understand a universe that we don't have all the information for. So pretending that we have any answers to its ultimate outcome and beginning is silly. It just is. And our side is able to admit this, and it bothers you guys. That's why you're like, what, but contingency? Come on. Not enough. I asked you last time, what arguments you find are the best. Why did you answer this one? It's contingency.
On your understanding of Christianity, what does it take for a person to become a Christian and experience everlasting life?
Don't know, Matt. There's so many of you that say so many different things. Some of you, you have to go up and you have to say the special words and you have to eat the special bread, and you have to, and then other ones, you have to be reborn and you have to be, and there's other ones where you have to be, you just say that you love Jesus and you accept Jesus in your heart and you act like it and it's okay. There's so many different versions of you because none of you know the answer and you all just make it up, right? That's why there's so many different versions, because you don't fucking have answer one about Jack. And if you don't have answer one about Jack, people are going to make up different shit. And then they argue about it. And then, it's not true Christian all the way, isn't it? My understanding of Christianity is muddled because Christianity itself is muddled, friend. See, just because, am I supposed to say way into Christianity that you don't agree with so you could go from on high, ha ha ha? You see, he doesn't understand. But the thing is there's so many different ways. Why pick one? God should give me one, shouldn't he? And it should be more obvious. But no, you all had to change it. It's almost like muddying the water is like your superpower or something.
Whether you think anything in the Bible is true or not, do you think that the Bible, or any passage in the Bible, seems to teach eternal conscious suffering in hell?
No. Be afraid.
Maybe you think it teaches universal ultimate salvation or annihilation, the idea that people will no longer be conscious but will be annihilated and no longer have a conscious experience of anything. And I should say, I'm partly asking that question because a friend of mine, Chris Date at Rethinking Hell, would be happy to have a discussion or a debate on the subject of whether any Bible passage teaches eternal conscious torment.
Be very afraid.
I mean, it's funny, right? Are you serious? Like, really? You serious? So, let me get my Bible study glasses on, okay? I don't know if I'll animate this, but let me get my Bible study glasses on, okay? So, the Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews, they had a place called Sheol, which was basically like Hades, right? Where everyone went, irregardless of whether they were good or bad. And that's what the Bible teaches, right? You see. And then,
and then.
Jesus comes along, right? And then Jesus says, I know all that's true. But then, because Jesus was originally a Jew. He's the king of the Jews, right? But then Christianity took over and went, no, he's ours. He's our thing. Because Paul, right? So then Jesus starts getting things put in, look, those will be in heaven with me, right? But even when he starts talking about hell, he talks about, actually, your body will, if you do not abide in me, your body will be put in Gehenna. But Gehenna was a valley outside of Jerusalem. It's not hell. You guys just made that up afterwards, right? Because the valley of Gehenna were like, I can't remember what kind of fucking religion it was now. Bollocks. But they fucked with bodies and stuff and desecrated bodies. The whole point of being put in the valley of Gehenna was that you were being not properly buried as a Hebrew, you see? And that's what the Bible teaches. So these ideas of burning hell later on, it's not actually on about everlasting suffering. It's about the fall of fucking Rome, actually. You guys just made it up later because Rome wasn't around anymore. And in fact, not only was it not around anymore, you guys took over Rome. So actually the idea of bashing Rome and making Rome fall is a bad idea. So now it's something different, you see? So 2,000 years later, people don't look at it as the way it was fucking written. So that's what it's actually going on about, okay?
What do you think is the most dangerous or problematic issue that theologically conservative Christians hold to? And I'm talking about an issue or a position, not a person, a movement, or a party.
I don't know. There's a whole smorgasbord of choices, isn't there? A whole smorgasbord. Well, what's the most dangerous thing that you hold till now? I don't know. Maybe that you should enforce Christianity in all the classrooms and it should override science, and actually Christian history should override actual history and different stuff like that. Because really everybody should be Christian. Why are you learning anything different? Because then when you get people like that, maybe they might start wanting to, I don't know, follow the Bible to the word. Like, I don't know, keeping slaves, degrading women again, making them less than a person, bringing them back down to property status that your Bible definitely talks about and upholds. So maybe it's bringing society back down to such a fucking horrific level because such horrific things are in your fucking book. Like, the idea that all of you walk around pretending to talk to God, right? And all of you think that every idea you have is God inspired in some way. And actually, you should do that, right? And then you fight each other over it. And then you form groups to, like, I don't know, eradicate people in the Middle East because you think that some fucking, guy's going to come back on the plains of Megiddo after the Hebrews have been slaughtered. There's all sorts of things that modern Christians do now that's fucking horrifying. You see, I don't know, you ever watched the film Kidnapped for Christ where good, hardworking Christian Americans have the kids kidnapped and physically and emotionally tortured overseas so they can be more Christian because they were falling out of their religion. Maybe it's the brainwashing that I saw in movies like Jesus Camp and stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe those kids that were getting brainwashed today are part of the reason the country is fucked now. You never know. It's only 20 years later and they're adults, right? Maybe all this constant brainwashing that Christians do and the insistence that actually other people, even though that there's other things out there, that there's these alternative facts, and I'm not talking about Trump alternative facts, I'm talking about Christian alternative facts. Hey, by the way, did you know the world's only 6,000 years old? Hey, by the way, did you know there's no evolution until we've proved it too much, and that actually there's microevolution and macroevolution, and we believed in microevolution all along? You people have done the most evil things all the time since you've existed. And all you need is a push. And it's scary, okay? It can't be tied to a political party or a person. Tough, they use it to control you, to make their own political oligarchic and fascist needs. Because you people are too dumb to see a politician going, I believe in God! And when they go, they can't even name their favorite fucking Bible verse or whatever, just because they say they like God and they vaguely agree with your political opinions, well then they can get away with anything. So actually, I suppose the most dangerous and scary thing about Christianity is your inane gullibility to lies. Well, that was fun. That was 20 of 25, Got 5 more to go, and then I'm done. Done. I tried to be civil. I tried to be, pithy and short. I succeeded in neither because, I do most of these videos in one take. And then, this isn't scripted. I'm not a scripted boy. You can't hold me down with scripts unless I'm doing, a parody video, making fun of something, whatever. I'll do a script then, I guess. Nah. But yeah, so, I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.